Hey guys, welcome back for another episode. I am Josh with Impact and I'm your host here. So thanks so much for tuning in. And boy, are you in for a good episode today. Today I'm speaking with Jason Lewis out of Salt Lake City, Utah, and he is an expert in lead generation and in wholesaling. And today we're going to go through several tactics that help me a lot personally in my own business, help me adapt our marketing and lead gen. And I think he's going to give you a lot of gold nuggets in this episode as well. Some of my favorites here were how to pick new markets and how to pick marketing channels depending on what market you're in. Listen close for how he defines a large market versus a small market. This is not anything I've heard anyone else talk about before, but it makes a huge difference for the marketing that you're going after, for the marketing channels that you plan to use in your market or whatever market you're gonna, go out and market in. So anyway, this is a really, really, really good episode and I know you're gonna enjoy it. After the episode, do me a favor. Drop below your favorite tactic or maybe your favorite lesson that you're going to implement in your own business. And guys, if you're not ripping off some of these tactics and putting them in your own business to make you real money, then I am not doing my job. So I hope you take some of these tactics and I hope you use them in your own business. Go get them, and I hope you enjoy this episode. Thank you guys so much, and thank you, Jason, for being here on the Lead Gen Underground. It is my goal to pack as much in as we can in 30 minutes. And guys, today I have the guy that's going to drop some gold nuggets. I know Jason, he's an investor fuel. I've actually just gotten to know him a little bit, but what a wealth of knowledge. Just super impressive guy that runs. I'm not even sure how big your team is, but I know that you have a lot of virtuals that run it, and I know you work from home. And I know you're doing a decent amount of deals now pretty successfully. So maybe you want to give everyone just a few minute intro on what you do and how you do it.
Yeah. So my main market is in Utah, Salt Lake City area. We actually just 2 weeks ago cleared $1 million in assignment fees so far for the year.
Wow.
Yeah. So, which is awesome. So last year our goal was 30,000 a week. This year we bumped it up to 45, and we wanted to hit 945 by yesterday. Well, I guess 2 days ago, June 1, and we wound up hitting like 1.06 or something like that. So super proud of my team. So we 50% increased our business from last quarter to this quarter, and we're off to the races here.
50% increase from last quarter to this quarter. That's just incredible. And what do you attribute that to?
Honestly, working really hard. That's a lot of it. I mean, it's so many things, right? We've been building and stacking pieces for years, and finally a lot of it just came together. We've got excellent lists. I mean, it starts there. That's what I do with Investor Machine for other people. Build the excellent lists, run their mail for them, provide the skip tracing. So I practice what I preach there, and that played a big role. Texting at a really high level, mail, being consistent in that, online. Finally, I had a big dry spell for SEO and pay-per-click, but I finally caught up there at the end. And then a lot of just like networking, relationships, co-wholesales, things like that.
Wow, that's amazing. So you got a lot to unpack there, but that last part about JVing, co-wholesaling and stuff like that, guys, is one that I've heard from a lot of high-level operators, particularly starting this year. Can you tell us just a few seconds about what you're doing there and like how that's brought on additional business for you?
Yeah, I mean, I love this. Is obviously all these things are my passion, right? Marketing's my passion, lists are my passion, getting the right data and everything else. But I've got a couple of things that I've presented on at like Investor Fuel for things that I'm most passionate about. This is one of them, which is the power of relationships. So last year, just by residual relationships, I brought in 490K. And the cool part about that number is that gross is net, right? There's no marketing fee. There was no, I didn't spend anything on marketing. I didn't spend anything on anything. Just the power of networking with realtors, networking with other investors. So, a lot of it comes from the power of being really good at dispositions, right? There comes a point where you can be so good at dispositions that your dispositions becomes your acquisition. So that's actually been my big focus right now. If you can move a property for more than anybody else in your area, and if you can market well that you can move a property for more than anyone else in your area, other people that get deals are going to bring you their deals. Okay, they've got a cash buyers list of 120 people. If they send it out to their list, they're going to get what market are you in? So I can use appropriate numbers.
I'm in Central Maryland, like Baltimore.
Well, that's what I thought, Baltimore. So they say, hey, I can get 250 for this. On your list, you can get 280, right? So you tell them, hey, I'll make you a deal. I'll give you the 250. I'll make it a piece of cake. You turn around and sell it to your list for 280. You make the 30K. You didn't have to do anything to find that deal. You just make the money because you got a better, stronger list and a better ability to market to that list.
Yeah, that's amazing. So you're adding your fee on top essentially, or are you asking to split their fee or take a portion of any of their fee?
So I structure it different every time for every different person. Some people I just do a flat 50-50. I'll split whatever it is. Some people I say, hey, I'll do it for a flat fee. So some people are willing to do it for less than me. One of my overall rules in life is whatever I do, I'm going to do high quality, but I'm also high cost. And so, same thing. If I was a realtor, I am a realtor. Okay. Let me clarify that. I am a realtor, but if I was a practicing realtor, I would be the person that would say, hey, I am going to charge the full amount and do the best job. I'm not a believer in discount for halfway doing. So in all of those things, I always make sure that I charge high, but that I produce the highest level results.
Oh, I love that. That's amazing. So just to clarify, you said last year you made $490,000 extra just off of JV relationships.
Not just JV relationships. That was part of it. So they came from all sorts of different places. Relationships with agents, relationships with other investors, relationships with even just like people that I know. Like, hey, this is what I do. Somebody reaches out and sells me some houses.
Amazing.
Relationships with appraisers, just knowing people and people knowing what you're doing and bringing you opportunities to work together.
That's amazing. All right, you're the guy for this question. A lot of people, I've started to work with some agents, not at a high level like you, just some one-off type things. A lot of people approach me and they say, agents in our area are, particularly for wholesalers, agents are always just saying, no, they don't want to work with them, or no, I don't work with wholesalers. What is your how do you provide value to agents? How do you intro that? How do you intro yourself and what you can do for them? Because I think that would provide a lot of value to a lot of people in here.
Yeah, great question. So I have a specific value proposition that I go over here. So, for the right person, wholesaling can be great. So let me give you the perfect example. We just had a seller with 18 homes in Provo. His daughter's a realtor. And so all these 18 homes are on the same street too. Super rich guy. Like if he's not a billionaire, he's got to be a 100 millionaire. His own daughter's a realtor. He understood everything about the process. We educated him on every different thing possible on, hey, this is what this looks like if you list it. This is what this looks like if we buy all of them or we connect you with one buyer. This is what this looks like if we wholesale it. And he said, understanding all my options, I want you guys to wholesale these for me. So I think step one is you have to personally understand your value. People can feel that more than anything else. If you come in, if you personally think that wholesaling is shady, or you personally think that if somebody understood what you're doing, they wouldn't go in for it, you're never going to be successful. Wholesaling has a legitimate, highly valuable purpose in the marketplace. It's just helping to educate people on that value. And here's the other thing you have to realize. This is the total number of buyers, or this is the total number of sellers. This is the number of sellers that benefit by the service that we provide, right? We have a niche that we serve very, very well. And we get into trouble when we try to be the answer for everybody. If your house is in good shape and you're not in a hurry, list it. And we're not there for you. But realize that what we provide is a much more convenient process to a traditional listing. Okay? That can still. Oh, did you guys lose me?
Did, but you're back.
I'm back. Okay. So we provide a much more convenient process, but that still can maximize profits. So that's essentially what I explained to the realtors. Okay. So traditional MLS process, for those that don't know, you list the home, walkthroughs can be whenever, right? So it could be this evening, it could be tomorrow. You're always trying to figure out when you need to keep the house clean for. This is obviously a fixer. Keep in mind our ideal person. This is obviously a fixer-upper. This is somebody that is in need of getting out of this solution quickly. And what they have is a bucket load of uncertainty of when are they going to walk through. Okay. Now you have all these random walkthroughs, and then you finally get it under contract. The guy has 2 weeks due diligence. He does a meth test. He does a sewer scope. He does a, radon test, whatever to your different area, and comes back and is like, oh, hey, now you need to drop the price, all of this, and you need to do all of these extra things for me. Right. And it's like, and so they're like, well, bag them. We're going to go to someone else. And then you go to someone else. And so where realtors go wrong is that they assume that the thing that matters most to all of their clients is price. And it's not. For most clients, it's price. If I'm a seller, price matters the most to me. But for a certain client, convenience matters more than price. So we can provide that healthy balance between convenience and price. And here's what I say. Here is the inconvenience of my process. Get it under contract with me. I need 2 walkthroughs that we can pre-decide when the times are. I will get everybody through in those 2 walkthroughs. So we'll go under contract on a Monday. I'll do walkthrough Tuesday, walkthrough Wednesday, and I'll have offers by end of day Thursday, and I'll have a $5,000 non-refundable deposit at a higher amount than if you just call one random investor is going to be able to pay. And so because I marketed it to 6,000 people at once, and sure, the MLS markets are way more people than that, but most of your buyers aren't checking the MLS all the time. And so this is actually going into their email where I have a relationship with these people, and they know, hey, if I send this, it's a good deal. And then they come out and look at it, and I can have this whole process done with $5,000 non-refundable done for your seller this week and get them a lot more than one random investor without having to deal with any of the headache and stress of the process. Again,
that's really amazing. Really amazing. You got that whole process buttoned up where you say contract Monday, walk through Wednesday, Thursday, contract by Friday.
Tuesday, Wednesday. So I send it out Monday morning. Ideally, I can shift if I need to do midweek, but my ideal process is I send it out Monday morning. I do a walkthrough Tuesday at noon, a walkthrough Wednesday at 5. I do Tuesday at noon to get the full timers, Wednesday at 5 to get the part timers. Everybody can typically hit one of those 2. And then I give them all the way until Thursday at 5 to get me their offer submitted. And then I don't respond until Friday at noon because the best offer seems to always come in Friday at 10. And then by Friday at noon, that gives us enough time to make sure wire's in, 5,000 is non-refundable by 3, and we're done.
Wow. I hope you guys are taking notes out there because he is just laying out the process. That's a buttoned up process right there if I've ever heard one, dude. That's amazing.
I'm the process guy. Anybody who listens to my field presentations knows that every part of my business, whether it be the list, whether it be the mail, whether it be how we disposition, is all an ironed out process. I spent 5 years as the integrator before I got to start my own company and become the visionary for another company. So I'm well versed in being the process integrator guy.
Wow, that's amazing. I love that process right there. So you talked about, I'm curious about this. You talked about you could get a better offer for them than if they just went with one off investor. The offers that you get, does that change the price or the net to the seller somehow? Are you working that in as part of the offer?
So typically, no. I have in the past. I have said, hey, for example, on this deal with all of the people in Provo, the seller with all the properties in Provo, I just told him, hey, I'm content to make 3% of what I sell all these for because it's 18 houses, right? But typically I say, hey, what's the number your person needs? And I'll have 5,000 non-refundable to you by Thursday, basically, because it's going to go to someone else.
Okay, got it. Man, that's amazing.
But I'm saying I can offer you a higher amount than Joe Schmo because I can find the person that's willing to pay way, way, way too much for it.
Got it. Okay. I love that. Dude, what a process. So let's back out of dispo. I mean, that is just amazing right there. And we had the last fuel, we had talked briefly on it. So I wanted to touch on that now. Talk to me about what current market, what trends are going on in your market. And before this, you said it really wasn't too much. But talk about any trends that you're seeing in your market and how you're reacting to that with some of your lead gen.
So I was under the impression initially that we were going to see more of a correction than we did. And so I went much heavier on the dispo relationships and texting. And I switched my mail. So I was mailing. So this is going to get sophisticated again. I hope that's okay. I don't know your audience. How advanced versus new is your audience so I can tailor this?
we're finding that out exactly now, but it is pretty well spread out. We do have some beginners on the call, but we have a lot of guys from Fuel in here. And we have some guys that I know have done a lot of deals and are working in their own marketing. So
Okay, I'm going to give the advanced answer then. Okay, I'm going to give the advanced answer. So here's what I did. So I was traditionally mailing a big list. Again, based off of how we generate the list through Investor Machine, which is pulling the entire county, scoring every different aspect of the property, and then pulling every motivation point imaginable with virtual assistants direct from the county. Then we throw it into the app that we built that turns around and scores the best seller down to the worst seller in your entire county. Okay, that's the 30-second version of something that deserves 10 minutes.
Unreal.
So I know my area really well in terms of who's the best and who's the worst seller, and I've been texting them for a while. And I've realized that something a lot of people don't know, even when you skip trace, doesn't matter whether it's through Mike Singletary, IDI, which is going to be like your launch skip, it's going to be your batch. Everybody pulls from similar sources, and you wind up getting about a 50% successful, you got the right seller with the right cell phone number, right? So you lost half of the people on that. So I have my list sorted out into what I call prospects A, B, and C. A is the hottest, B is the next hottest, C is the least hottest. So what I did was I took my prospects A and said, okay, who's everybody that we can't get a hold of? And what I did is, instead of postcarding, down everybody prospects A, B, and C, not C, prospects A and B, I said, I'm going to send a super nice letter that's going to be a lot more expensive to just my prospects A that don't have a phone number in here, because I'm not getting them through cold calling and texting. So I'm going to go deeper with them with mail than what I have before.
Dude,
so
that's amazing.
And so the postcard that I did, I designed it with Todd Swaggerty, Mike Flores' best friend. So what it is it's a 2-pager. The first page is what you typically imagine for the yellow letter, which is just, hey, I'm Jason, I'm interested in buying your house, looks handwritten. Then page 2 is a full pager of more like your family type letter, which is, hey, this is me, this is what I do. Because in theory, most of your sellers are going to fit into either your high D or your low D type process, right? High D is like, shut up, what's the point? Okay, he wants to buy my house. Low D is, well, I want to know more about this person. So page 2, hey, here's a letter, everything you want to know about me. You get both the people in one letter.
And that goes out to,
and I have to say,
who don't pick up the phone, or you don't have the number for them, someone you couldn't get in touch with.
Exactly. Yep.
Wow, that's amazing. And so I think you guys are tracking this like with Investor Machine in that app, or how do you do it internally? Because from my seat right here, that's a lot of pieces of software coming together to try to track it regularly.
Tracking that you should be doing through your text messaging software.
Okay.
So your text messaging software should be able to say, so the prospects A, B, and C, that comes through Investor Machine of, hey, this is a top record, this is a medium, this is a bottom. But in terms of texting, whether or not you're getting people, whether the information on whether or not you're getting people, that should come from whoever your preferred texter is. That could be 80/20, that could be Sherpa, that could be Batch, that could be Launch Control. I think that's where most people that I know.
Absolutely. Okay, so on mail, you said you're sending it out to those A prospects. How widely are you sending mail right now? What do you think your top?
Much more narrow.
What's that?
I'm much more narrow on my mail than I was before.
Okay, got it. What do you think your top 3 channels are, marketing channels?
So here's the interesting thing, and this was on the panel when you and I were together. I'll say the same thing. It's always changing, right? If you looked at my numbers from last year, we killed it on mail, relationships. So mail was first place, relationships was second place, online was third place, with texting and cold calling being first place. Even though texting and cold calling took this much time and online took this much time, right? So I was like, oh man, we got to go all in on online. But luckily, I know that marketing works, right? If you do a marketing channel well, it will work. And so I continued to push all of them. And this year, we're crushing it on texting and cold calling, then mail. Relationships is still up there too. I don't know exactly where it sits in there, but relationships is still great. And then online's been the worst. So it's important to have multiple solid channels of marketing because they're all going to fluctuate up and down. You've probably seen that too.
Oh man, absolutely. I've seen that everything is cyclical within the past year and a half. Our channels that are working, and then even really also lists that are working, and even down to some scripts that are working for us. Talk about, so we do have some beginners on here, and I think one of the hardest, you just kind of alluded to it, but you said that marketing works, so you don't have that, you're not scared to throw $5,000, $10,000 into a channel that you know is going to work, because eventually some seeds are going to grow and you're going to get some crops out of it. Talk about when someone's beginning right now. So speak to the beginner and then maybe the intermediate. If you're a beginner just trying to grab a consistent deal or two a month, what do you think that their first strategy should be? And then likewise for intermediate, trying to scale up to maybe 3 or 4 deals a month, what do you think they should do differently?
It's a great question. So my answer is going to vary based on where you live. If you're in a small submarket, so my definition of a submarket is, does a plane land in can you have a layover at your airport, right? If you can have a layover at your airport, you're a major market. If you can't, you're a minor market. So for example, someone could fly Delta from Baltimore to Salt Lake and then lay over and go to Seattle, right? But you're not going to be able to fly Baltimore to Boise, layover, and then fly to Seattle. So if your closest airport isn't a hub, then you're probably a smaller market. So if I'm in a smaller market, personally, I go from easy to hard. Okay, because typically in smaller markets, easier things work, especially in the Midwest. So to me, the easiest by far and above is pay-per-click. So that's the very first thing I do. I go to Investor Carrot, I put together my Carrot website, and then I pay somebody to change the words from their stock wording to high converting SEO type website. And then I find somebody to pay them to do pay-per-click. And then that's what I start with, is SEO and pay-per-click in a small market. Then I do mail next. And I probably don't ever cold call and text, because I think you can probably grow relationships. I do relationships regardless. Relationships is free. So that's where I start regardless. But then if I'm in, DFW, or I'm in Washington, D.C. area, I'm in LA, Bay Area, I start with texting and cold calling and relationships. And then I work into mail. And if iBuyers are in your area, I don't mess with PPC ever, because you will never outspend them.
Got it. Okay. That's amazing. Dude, that's really good advice. I hope you guys are taking some serious notes out there. That is some really good advice right there. Okay. The last topic that I'd really like to touch on is your VA team. I know you're very successful with your VA team. It's one of the things that I've been okay to a point. And I know a lot of people have even reached out to me asking me how I manage my team of like 3 or 4 VAs at a time. And truthfully, it can be challenging, right? Like, you're laughing. I don't do shit with VAs, like 3 or 4. And I know you have like 20 something. I mean,
I think between Investor Machine and Utah, I think we're in the 30s now.
30s. Wow. I mean, that's serious. I see people shaking their heads and writing stuff down. But talk about a little bit about, your philosophy or how you manage a team like that and really leverage on such a large team.
Yeah. So technically for me, everyone's a VA, right? Some VAs may live in Utah. Some VAs may live in the Philippines. So we've got people from India, Bangladesh, Philippines, Nicaragua, Venezuela, Costa Rica, and everywhere in between. And so the first thing you need to do is you need to track them, right? So you need to track what they're working and doing. So if you hire them through Upwork, Upwork has a great track in there. If not, I use Time Doctor. People will also use Hubstaff. I don't know. Your question is super broad, and I know how much time we've got left. Get specific. What's the specific part that you want me to answer?
Yeah, we just got a few minutes left as we're getting to the back. So for me,
VAs is a 40-minute call. So let's get to the fire that you want the most. on VAs.
Okay, absolutely. So for me, for someone to actually take list, skip trace, and then deploy to your marketing channels, and then make sure everything is streamlined back into whatever CRM you're using and whatever your acquisition process is. So maybe talk about how you're using them to deploy some of your marketing or for acquisitions. I think that would be really
Okay. So your question more specific is, what do my VAs do?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So for Investor Machine and for my own, so it started with my own company and it became the Investor Machine. If you want to learn more, that's the website, theinvestormachine.com.
Investormachine.com.
Yep. So we actually go in. So, the list that you buy online of motivated sellers is old and inaccurate almost always. That was what I learned early on. So the only place to get really accurate info is from the county itself, the courthouse itself, if it's an obituary, the newspaper itself, if it's a estate sale, from the notice boards themselves. So I trained the virtual assistants to look anywhere online they could possibly find something that looked like a motivated seller, and then go through the system to find their name, their address, skip trace them, get their phone number, and then upload it into the texting, calling, mailing places so that then those go out. Another big thing that you need VAs for, honestly, if you're texting and if you're getting inbound calls and things like that, you have to have a virtual assistant to run that crap. Keeping the phone numbers in, and if you're texting, it's almost a full-time job to keep the deliverability rates high anymore. That we didn't have that problem 6 months ago. But if you're just blasting people all day with the exact same message, you're down to like 20% hit rate. And a lot of the providers won't even let you text anymore if you're dropping the hit rate that far. And so you have to be constantly changing your scripts. Same thing, database. Phone call comes in. I have a VA who listens to every call that comes through CallRail because my lead managers are salespeople. Salespeople suck at taking notes and details, right? If you got a good lead manager, they're a salesperson. So every lead manager is tied to a VA who takes note, who listens to every call and fills out all the notes in Podio or whatever you want your CRM to be. Make sure that the follow-up is scheduled for the person when they say they're going to follow up, and then babysits them to say, hey, you were supposed to follow up on this day. So that's a lot of what I have the overseas VAs do. But I do have expats overseas too that do my actual calling and texting for me too.
Got it. Okay. Who's actually doing your acquisitions? You have a few just acquisitions guys still virtually?
So I believe in, I subscribe, people subscribe to the theory of virtual or in person. I am very much so an in-person believer. So like Aaron Pimpus, I know is like, I don't care if they're next door, I'm doing it virtual. Not my style. I'm in a super competitive market. I have way more acquisition manager time than I do availability. So I have 2 locals that again work from home, but that act just like a normal acquisition manager. Go in, sit at the property with the seller, etc.
Dude, amazing. Okay, 2 rapid fire questions. What's one book that everyone on this call should read?
You got to be more specific. Obviously, you got The Go-Giver in the background. I adore that book.
Go-Giver. Recent ones for me, Greg Hellbeck recommended 80/20 Sales and Marketing by Perry Marshall. This has just been phenomenal so far. I'm about halfway through it.
I love books. Give me any genre, and then I'll give you a book.
Let's just talk about copywriting or marketing.
Marketing. Most of my books are more on becoming.
Okay.
I really like I'll just rapid fire a few. I love the compound effect. I love the one thing. I love I run my whole company based off of 4 disciplines of execution. I'm going to go through all the books that I've made my whole team read. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Go-Giver, Compound Effect. Atomic Habits is a great one. And one that I recommend all the time is that's not as popular as Living Your Best Year Ever by Darren Hardy. So essentially, what's that?
I got that planner. I got the planner because Stinson recommended it because you recommended it.
Yep. Yeah, so the planner is the book.
Okay.
So, yep, I started that one. So I realized early on when I started, if I could master 3 skills, I could do anything in business. So, and the 3 skills that I decided that were the most important was going to be setting goals, establishing habits, and hiring. If I could set goals well, do habits well, and hire well, I could do essentially everything else. So best book on setting goals for me is Living Your Best Year Ever. Best book on habits for me is Atomic Habits. And best book on hiring for me is Who, the A Method of Hiring.
Can you say that again? The last one?
Who, the A Method of Hiring. It's like the son of the guy that wrote Top Grading.
Oh,
and then lastly, from like just a personal improvement book, I really, really like The Rhythm of Life by Matthew Kelly.
Wow. You're just giving me such diverse answers, some that I've never even heard before. That's amazing right there. Okay.
Yeah, I wasn't raised in the, the investment community has things that we all pass around. I wasn't raised in that community. I didn't really get into that community until I joined Investor Fuel. And then I kind of got in with everybody else. Like, I didn't know the Go Giver existed. I got that from the community, but I've been reading for years and years, and I've been figuring stuff out without kind of like, there's people that originate things that spread around, right? Like in our community, it's the OS, it's Traction because of Gary Harper, who's spread it to our whole world. But I didn't know Gary existed. I didn't know what the OS was. So I figured out how to run my company on 4 disciplines of execution instead, right? So a lot of stuff I had to figure out outside of like the main resources that we have here.
Wow, fantastic. Okay. And then last piece, give yourself a plug, talk about Investor Machine or where people can follow you. Who's Investor Machine for? Who's it not for?
Great. So Investor Machine, we are a marketing company and so much more. So we build rockstar, super hard to get lists because of our team of virtual assistants. Then we run the mail for you and we provide the skip trace lists. You also with that get a specific to you marketing strategy session with me. And we have a community that we're all a part of. We've got, I think we're up to somewhere between 25 and 30 members nationwide. People have been having great success doing it. It's essentially duplicating what I've done in my model. It is not for brand new people. It works, but you need to know, you have to be able to do your end well before it's going to work. So your end is, I don't answer the phone for you. I don't go to the appointment, and I don't monetize it after you have a contract. You have to be able to know how to do those three things well in order for this to work. We're not interested in taking your money if it's not going to work well for you. And so we will scrub out initially to make sure, A, do you know how to answer the phone? Do you have a system set up? B, do you know how to meet with the seller and get a contract signed? And then C, after you have a contract signed, do you know how to take that and turn it into revenue for you? If you don't have those three things down, it's not a fit. But if you have those three things down, it may be an awesome fit.
Wow, that's amazing. How should everyone reach out to you or find you or follow you or whatever you want?
Theinvestormachine.com.
Cool.
And I'm not, what my area of weakness is, hey, John, I didn't know you were on here. Glad to have you here. My area of weakness that is constantly pushed in Investor Machine or in Investor Field that you are much better at than me is like Facebook, social media marketing, things like that. I like being like the Wizard of Oz guy behind the scene. That's why we have Mike Cambright, who's my partner in Investor Machine, to be the face of it. I'm the guy that you only get to talk to once you're in. So I don't have like, hey, if you follow me on Facebook and Instagram, you're just going to see not much. Maybe a kid posting biannually or something.
Well, appreciate the honesty there. Dude, guys, I hope you got so much value out of that call because I know that I did. That call was absolute fire. Jason, thank you so much for being here and sharing with us. You just have like a boatload of knowledge, man. It's apparent. It's unbelievable. I'm glad to be friends with you and I'm glad we connected. So thanks so much for your time.
Likewise. Awesome. Thank you.
Fist bump, air fist bump before we go. There you go. All right, guys, thanks so much for being here. Go out and be kind to people today and see you next week. This elevator is going up. Peace.